Hello, this is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheists of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I am Rick Cassidy.
And I'm Larry Rhodes. And we want you to know that if you don't believe in God, you're not alone. Right here in East Tennessee, you can find free-thinking atheists, agnostics, and this is a show for them and other people curious about living a life free of supernatural beliefs. Today's topic is the soul. Do we have one?
This is a call-in show. While we go over a few announcements, we invite you to start calling in now. The number's on your screen. And grab a pen and paper, and we'll give you an email address.
Later on in the show, we'll give you lots of other information too, like websites and things like that. The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun meetup, often at a bar or eatery, breweries too. Sometimes we even do karaoke. Tonight's meetup is at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria for happy hour after the show. We'll be down there for food, drink, and conversation. Friday evening, weather permitting, we'll be at the Bearden Beer Market. If the weather becomes inclement, an alternate location will be at Agave Azul's, which is just across the street, Kingston Pike, from the beer market. You can find us by looking for the silver-jacketed copy of The God Delusion standing upright on the table. And as Matt Dillahunty at the Atheist Experience says, everyone is welcome to visit our happy hour for food, drink, and conversation. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't.
The monthly activities of the Rationalists of East Tennessee, the first and third Sundays mornings, are usually lectures with a lively roundtable discussion. The second Sunday is the book club. The fourth Sunday is reflections gathering, a potluck afternoon gathering at a member's home.
Okay. Our book club, November 14th, is The Humanist Approach to Happiness, Practical Wisdom by Jennifer Hancock. Jennifer was our guest here on the show last summer.
November 20th, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the Torah, describes an epic history of the Israelites. They constitute much of the foundation of Judaism and Christianity, are based on. But they are a mixture of fact, legend, and mythology, which are not easily distinguishable by average readers. RET, the Rationalists of East Tennessee, member Ralph Eisler will address the questions of who wrote the Torah, why many stories are duplicated with different emphasis and even contradictions, and what modern archaeologists reveal about the historicity of such events as the Exodus and the military conquest of Canaan.
This month's Reflections afternoon we'll get together as a seasonal one. How do non-believers celebrate holy days or holidays, or do they? What is a free thinker, and what does they have to do during the holiday season? What is the range of reactions to the numerous religious holidays recognized by our federal government? Exactly what, when, how, and why do they celebrate? Most of us are former Christians and are familiar with Christian holidays and the reasons for them and traditions. Many of them have morphed into almost totally secular, commercialized, corrupt versions of their original purposes. Do most non-believers just go along to get along and passively accept these religious remnants still being forced down society's throats? Should we rebel and refuse to be co-opted by other insincere observations? How do we spend this work-free time? Have we created traditions in our own families, or do we take the time to travel abroad or just visit relatives? One thing I'd like to say about that is that in my case, the holidays are based around secular events anyway. Easter is the spring equinox, solstice.
Christmas is the
summer. The summer is the equinox. The fall is harvest, and in the winter is the winter solstice. Solstice, and those were basically the reasons that all people all around the world have been celebrating these holidays anyway. There are good reasons, good secular reasons to be happy and celebrate for any of these occasions. That's usually what I celebrate when these occasions roll around. But I will take a bow to the society and exchange presents or visit and have dinners, which is all, of course, mostly secular anyway.
But you can visit our websites for additional details, including times and locations.
In the news, November 8th, 2011, religion has hijacked the operation of our government once again. With unemployment about 9% and over 13 million Americans unemployed, and after saying jobs were so important during the election in 2010, you would think the Republican majority in the House of Representatives would be discussing jobs or the economy.
However, you would be wrong. The Republican-controlled House of Representatives have other priorities. A bill introduced by U.S. Representative Randy Forbes, Republican of Virginia, reaffirms "In God We Trust" as the official motto of the United States, and supports and encourages public displays of the motto in public buildings, public schools, and other government institutions.
Personally, I say in jobs we trust, especially now.
Well, it would be nice if they focused on something. Now, when e pluribus unum was never officially our
it was always our unofficial motto.
And it seems like they always like to insert the God statements either to supplant unifying statements like e pluribus unum, which means out of many one.
Right.
And then in the Pledge of Allegiance, they put it in between one nation and indivisible,
which is one of the most divisive concepts that humans have come up with, religion, and they have to stick it right in between the two and even divide the Pledge of Allegiance. We urge congresspersons to stick to the business of government, not religion. Okay. It will not be the end of the world, but the Earth will receive a close visit from an Earth orbit crossing asteroid later this evening. That's November the 8th. It will. Many of the news shows have been saying that it will pass between the Earth and the Moon. That is not so. It will pass between the orbit of the Earth, the Moon around the Earth. You can see a diagram behind me is that the straight line coming from the bottom left to the upper right would be the path that the asteroid is going to take. It does, in fact, come inside the orbit of the Moon, but it does not come between the Earth and the Moon. Just after the show, as it gets dark, the asteroid, discovered in 2005, will make its closest approach to Earth in the west and will, during the evening, rapidly move across the sky over the course of several hours. A bright moon will make observation difficult, but many professionals and amateurs will be trying anyway. Faithless Forrest is an amateur observer. And he will bring a telescope to Barley's tonight, and weather permitting, we will try to see it.
The asteroid will be near one of the brightest stars in the summer triangle, Altair. As it gets dark, about 6 p.m., then the show ends. When the show ends, during this night, it will move across the sky into the constellation of Pegasus, the flying horse, and beyond, where it is apparent motion will drastically slow.
As it seems to be moving. Apparently it'll be moving away, and therefore, just from our perspective, it'll be slowing down. Now, if it actually slowed down, we would have reason to worry. I mean, somebody's at the helm and hitting the brakes. It wouldn't be good. Sky and Telescope magazine reports that 2005 UU-55, if it were to strike the Earth, it would deliver kinetic energy punch equivalent to several thousand megatons of TNT. That is several hundreds of thousands of times the size of the approximately 12 kiloton weapon used on Hiroshima, which ended, in part, World War II.
You can be sure that scientists will be watching this asteroid in the near and distant future, but no pastor or preacher will ever have anything useful. Never have anything useful to contribute to the monitoring of something. So
that might be so dangerous.
Might be one day.
Yeah,
dangerous.
Really. Why didn't those who are supposedly in direct touch with God report this asteroid? Indeed, why is it that only scientists who bring us new discoveries like this?
One might ask, when has religion ever included reliable scientific information in their revelations from God? And
why not? Also in the news, we have to ask, who would Jesus bully? In Michigan, Christians have new rights to bully. The Republican law legitimizes bullying under faith.
Objecting to the law, Michigan Democrat Senator Gretchen Whitmer spoke to the Senate saying, "You are explicitly outlining how to get away with bullying."
Right. The Michigan Democrat Senator Gretchen Whitmer was taking exception to this law when she addressed the rest of the House, saying, you're basically setting up a permit to do religious bullying in schools. WILX.com brings us this news from Lansing, Michigan. House Republicans are likely to nix a controversial religious exemption, saying they realize now that it's probably political suicide to go ahead and put it through, from their version of anti-bullying legislation when they take it up next week, according to a top aide. Ari Adler, spokesman for the House Speaker Jace Bolger, a Republican of Marshall, told News 10 on Sunday that it's safe to say that there's not much support in the House for the legislation as it is written. There is a public outcry, including a scathing rebuke from the state superintendent Mike Flanagan after Senate Republicans passed a bill last week stating that the school's anti-bullying policies cannot prohibit a statement of sincerely held religious belief or moral conviction.
Democrats and education officials worried that the line would essentially create a license to bully situation in which students could bully someone, then claim they did for moral religious reasons. Adler and Bolger and other leading Republicans in the House support legislation instead that is general in nature and doesn't enumerate
any specific groups.
Yeah. Republican Paul Olseman said on Sunday night he would support removing that religious exemption.
One would almost have to think that they did it on purpose. They may even just put up the bill in its entirety to be able to bully in Jesus' name. Senate Democrats are praising the move to take it off the docket. Senate Minority Leader Gretchen Whitmer called the change a major victory for those who had publicly decried the controversial Senate bill. "We can't miss this opportunity," she told News 10. 47 other states have passed laws to protect victims. The Michigan Republican Senate passed one that protects bullies. That's a shame and an embarrassment. The House can, and I believe they will, do better. The House Education Committee will take up the legislation next week. We have birth announcements, but first we'd like to ask for callers. We do have a number on the screen, 865-215-2288. I hear the phone ringing, so that must have been effective. Thanks for calling in advance. We have, while the call screener is answering the phone and screening calls, we'll go on with the birthdays, anniversaries to note. Would you like to take the first one?
Elizabeth Kitty Stanton was born November 12, 1815, a leading figure in American abolitionists and early women's movement. Her Declaration of Sentiment represents the first women's rights convention held in 1848 in Seneca Falls, New York,
and is modeled on the Declaration of Independence. We have an incoming call now. Welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have a name or a nickname?
This is Ken.
Hello, Ken. Welcome to Freethought Forum. Do you have a comment or question?
Well, I guess it's more of a pondering. When you were talking about the holidays earlier, I was just sort of wondering, if you're raising a kid to be rational or a free thinker, I'm not. It just seems to me when you're talking about the bullying that you're opening them up to quite a bit of persecution, and I just don't know. Even if it's the moral or right thing to do, if taking a strong stance for atheism as a young person is good, publicly in terms of your social life. That's really all I have to say.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. To answer that or go into it a little bit, that would have to be up to the family themselves, where the region of the country that they live in. Some parts, of course, would be more dangerous than others. And coming out as an atheist to your friends and neighbors, sometimes even your family, is a very personal decision that has a lot of consequences or potential consequences. However, would you rather that they lie to themselves, lie to their family and their friends and community, and say that they're believers and be a hypocrite, or be honest with themselves and their friends and their neighbors and tell people what they actually believe? Most Christians and most religious people are very proud of their beliefs. Atheists are not any different. When they come to certain beliefs about the world,
that, and you're really only assuming that the children will also be atheists. I mean, there are Christians who have atheist children, and I can only assume that there are atheists with theistic children.
One of the big differences I always like to point out is generally that Christians will teach Christians or religious people, especially fundamentalists of all stripes, will teach their children what to think and discourage questioning attitudes. Where free thinkers, atheists, secular humanists will teach their children critical thinking skills and let them figure it out for themselves with as much help as they can give them along the way, but all of the time being as honest as they possibly can. It's the free thinking skills that's the most important thing, not teaching your children what to think.
Exactly.
Okay. Another birthday that we have in the history of mankind is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations of the part of man toward the woman, having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over her. We're still going back to Elizabeth Stanton. We took a call in the meantime. To prove this, let's facts be submitted to a candid world. Man has never permitted woman to exercise her inalienable right of elective franchise. In other words, it was only last century that the woman got the vote here in America, and many places in the world still do not allow women to vote.
He has compelled her to submit to laws in the formation of which she had no voice.
She can't vote. She can't make the laws or even put in her voice other than trying to get the ear of her husband, who might be a legislator. He has withheld from her rights which are given to the most ignorant and degraded men, both natives and foreigners, but they keep them away from, they traditionally have kept them away from women.
Having deprived her of this first right as a citizen, the elective franchise, thereby leaving her without representation in the halls of legislation. He has oppressed her on all fronts.
She goes on to say, he has made her, if married, in the eye of the law, civilly dead. She basically has no voice outside of the family.
He has taken from her all rights of property, even to the wages she earns.
And the list goes on. So Elizabeth Cady Stanton, we, especially the women of America and the world, owe you a great deal of respect and gratitude, and wish you a happy birthday if you can. Edwin Powell Hubble was the astronomer, American astronomer, who made the observations showing that the universe was expanding and leading to the conclusion that it had a past history of high density, later to be called the Big Bang by its opponents. He was born on November 20th, 1889.
Look closely at the photograph, and you see Hubble in the observing cage of the huge telescope
right there.
that dwarfs him. Mm-hmm. Which is huge.
Yeah. That is a big telescope, the 200-inch Palomar in California. Big as it is, there are even bigger ones now. It is with these instruments that we have learned that 13.7 billion years ago, the universe was a dense, hot, expanding maelstrom of matter. Say that 3 times.
All right, next in birthdays, Jon Stewart was born of The Daily Show. Was born November 28th, 1962. He's a comedian and is the provider of news rivaling the other news programs.
Esquire magazine.
It's called him a humanist. I know on the show he takes claim to his Jewish heritage, but if he hasn't said it himself, I would consider him a humanist.
I would too. There's so many people out there that go to him for news, and not only the news that's unbiased and unspun from the left and the right, that he has won numerous news awards just for the candid forthrightness of the news that he puts out, and he's awfully darn funny at doing it too. Makes it a very entertaining show. Samuel Langhorne Clemens, also known as Mark Twain, was born on November 30th, 1835. As Mark Twain, he wrote Huck Finn, challenging racism. He was also later in life an anti-imperialist and a very original free thinker. His diaries of Adam and Eve are a delightful love story. He once said, faith is believing what you know ain't so. He's, I would think, one of the earliest secular humanists, non-outspoken because at his time that would have really hurt his career. He was writing around the Civil War. He wrote about racism, several things.
The War Prayer?
The War Prayer. He also wrote several hundred pages as a personal memoir or autobiography, which he told his family he did not want to have published for 100 years because of the things that are in it. We are lucky enough nowadays to see that. It only came out last year, I believe it was. And anybody can go into a store and pick that up. It's a pretty thick tome. Actually, there are like 3 of them. And you can plumb the depths of Mark Twain's mind and very candid, lucid prose, because he was an excellent writer. And you would be surprised to find out what he says about religion, Christianity, faith, things like that. He was, I would say, at least a secular humanist, if not an atheist.
All right.
Okay. Today's program is The Soul, but before we do that, let's make another call. Call for calls. The number's on the screen, 865-215-2288. We will be talking about the soul. We'll be hitting quite a few different issues about it today. Do we have a soul? What's the proof for the soul? Why would we think that we could live forever when every other thing on the earth dies and is dead? We'd like to have you call in and give us your thoughts on the matter, and maybe give us opinions and proofs, if you have any, on why we should think that we have a soul. One of the reasons is that some people say, when you die, you lose about 0.28 grams, or 28 grams of weight. They proved that doctors have put you on the desk or on the scale, and when you die, your weight goes down by that much, and then they call that proof that there is a soul. However, even if it were true,
I've actually heard this conversation, I've heard this argument in discussions that I've had with people. It all goes back to a doctor that performed some tests around the turn of the century, or I'm sorry, the turn of the last century, about 1907, I believe. He actually did weigh some people who were dying, and there was a weight difference. Why we don't accept this as evidence is because a number of reasons. There's
well, for one, correlation doesn't mean causation. Right. It could be who knows how many different reasons why at that particular time, you lose a portion of an ounce of matter, exhaled breath or whatever.
The sample size was incredibly low. I mean,
he used 6 people, 7?
He did 6, I believe, and he had to throw 2 of them out. You got to sympathize with the guy. I mean, he has to talk people into letting letting him have their dying relatives to conduct this experiment on. But 6 is a very small number when we're thinking of scientific accuracy. That was brought up by some of his colleagues.
Okay. We have another call coming in. Welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have a name or a nickname?
Caller.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, you was questioning about how do you know you have a soul?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All I can tell you is it's faith.
It's faith?
Yes.
Okay, and how would you define faith?
You just put your faith and pray to the Lord, and that's how you know you have one.
Okay. Well, like Mark Twain said, the faith is knowing what you, believing what you know ain't so. There's no real evidence. Well, I have a definition for faith, and tell me what you think about this. Faith is believing in something without evidence or in the face of contradictory evidence. Would you say that you have evidence for your faith?
I just know that I can speak with the Lord.
You can speak with the Lord?
Yes.
Does he speak to you?
Well, he has answered many of my prayers.
Not in words, though.
No, I've never heard him speak, but...
Again, we have correlation and causation problem here.
There's some things that you just can't prove. It's just faith.
Well, what does the soul do? I mean, what would be the difference between someone with a soul or someone that didn't have a soul?
Now, do what?
What's the difference in having a soul? If you have a soul, how is that different? Do you think that animals have souls?
No.
Okay, so what's different between animals and people? All people have souls?
Well, I know that humans have souls because the Bible says that we are made out of God's image.
Yeah, ma'am, I didn't get your name or nickname.
It's Christy.
Christy?
Yeah, Christy.
Christy, so many of our callers will call in and cite the Bible.
Well, I've never seen this show. I just turned it on.
Oh, well.
Okay, we've been on the air for over a year now, and we're here every Tuesday from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
And welcome to call in anytime you like. But many people do call in and cite the Bible. What makes you think that the Bible itself is true? I mean, there are a lot of books out there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of holy books out there. What makes you think this particular book is really true?
Because that's the one that Jesus tells me to read, the King James Version, and I read it, and I know that it's real.
Ma'am, you just told me that Jesus talks to you.
Yeah. Through prayer, when I ask a question in prayer, he'll answer it one way or the other on his time.
Okay, now...
You asked him what version of the Bible was correct?
No, I've never asked that.
But he told you?
No, that's the one that I've always read.
Right. Ma'am, when you grew up, well, let me phrase it a different way. How did you come to Christianity?
Well, I wasn't raised in church.
No.
At all.
Okay.
My parents never talked to me about Jesus. My cousin one morning asked me to come to church, and I never went to church, maybe a handful of times. Mm-hmm. I know a church bus came and picked me up when I was about 9, and a preacher down there at this church had me say a prayer and said I was saved. My soul was saved, and I'd go to heaven when I died.
You would think that would be a very emotional time for you.
Well, I was just 9 years old. I don't.
Right. Now, if you had grown up in India, do you think you'd still be a Christian today?
I don't know, because there's a lot of people that are Christians that go to third world countries to speak about the gospel.
Yeah, but the chances are, since you were raised in a Christian country, that your cousin was Christian, took you to a Christian church when you were 9 years old, that had a lot to say about the particular religion that you did eventually join.
No, I wasn't saved while I was 9. I just thought I was. I know I was saved when 4 years ago, she invited me to church, and I went one Sunday morning, and I sat in the back pew, and the preacher kept preaching about hell, And
Was that frightening?
no, it wasn't. It was scared me to death, though.
But it wasn't frightening.
The way he was talking, and there was the Holy Spirit that kept grabbing me to pull up there, and I was waiting for that church to finish, and I ran out of them back doors.
Well, it can be scary when an authority figure stands up in front of you and tells you that if you don't do what he says, you're going to burn forever, and all your friends who don't believe will burn forever. That's very impressional. I mean, very emotional stuff. What I'm saying is, have you had time to and any inclination to question any of the stuff that he's been telling you all these years? Have you studied any other religions? Have you talked to any atheists?
Yes, I went to the Mormons church a few times.
That's another Christian church.
I don't believe in their beliefs, though.
Okay, why?
But when I left them church doors that day, I didn't go up there to get saved, but I was driving home up the ridge, and the Holy Spirit came over me again.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
I had the best feeling, peace, love, joy immediately. Mm-hmm. And I asked Jesus Christ to come into my heart, save my soul from eternal hell, and I did. And I thank the Lord every day that I did.
Now, do you think you're actually saved from those torments?
Yes, I know without a shadow of a doubt.
Because you have a warm feeling?
Nope, because I have the Holy Spirit came into my heart and saved my soul.
And you know this because?
My faith.
Because of how you felt when it happened.
There's no denying it.
Well, I would deny it.
There's no denying that you felt it, or there's no denying that this will actually lead for your acceptance into heaven?
The whole thing. There's no denying what that was. There's no denying where I'm going when I die.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your call.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Again, she has strong faith, obviously, but she has strong faith in nothing that's demonstrable. We're talking about soul and the existence of soul. It's never been proven that any part of a human being, mind, intellect, spirit, if you will, survives the death of the mind or the brain. We were talking about this particular doctor, Dr. McDougall. One of his fellow doctors, a fellow Massachusetts doctor named August P. Clark, took him to task for having failed to take into account the sudden rise in body temperature at death when the blood stops being air-cooled via circulation through the lungs. Clark posited that the sweating and moisture evaporation caused by the rise in body temperature would account for both the drop in the men's weight and the dog's failure to register. However, what you're saying with small sample size, you need to have thousands of people weighed at the point of death to be able to get some kind of correlation.
That, and I don't believe he tried to disconfirm.
No.
And one of the primary things.
Right. He had to throw out 2 out of the 6.
Why we use the scientific method is to discount anything that may be disconfirming.
Right. You've got to have falsifiability. You've got to be able to make a statement about something, test it, and be able to test it to see if it's going to be false or true. He did it for 6 subjects, had to throw 2 out. He confirmed it on 2, and then one of them was higher, and one of the other 2 were higher, and the other one stayed the same. Hardly conclusive evidence.
Didn't one kind of gradually lose weight?
Yeah, gradually.
And then one lost weight and then gained weight. Mm-hmm. So I think it's hardly
conclusive.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that over the course of the last 100 years, nobody has duplicated this experiment, or if they have, they haven't published any findings.
Actually, I think that the study was
duplicated?
Unethical.
Oh.
I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, you're dealing with the death of people. So
right.
I mean, I can understand why nobody's replicated it.
Right.
But we have a caller.
We have a caller. Welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have a name or nickname?
Caller?
Hello, caller.
Yeah.
May we have a name or a nickname, please?
Yeah, Skeeter.
Skeeter.
Welcome, Skeeter.
Well, welcome to the show. Do you have a comment or question?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to know
Go on.
if there's ever been wars started over atheism, being an atheist.
Not to my knowledge. There have been atheist leaders who have taken their people to war, but it was more of a cult following or a personality cult, like Stalin
Right.
Pol Pot type of thing, but not for atheism or free thought per se.
Well, I don't think that atheism has any actionable concepts. I mean, it's just the disbelief in a God.
Right. It begins and ends with one question.
Okay, but what you're saying is just the disbelief of gods, like they used to praise back in gods.
Yes, that's true.
God.
Okay.
Gods.
Okay. Yeah. We appreciate you.
Now, there, like he said, there have been. You can almost guarantee that there have been leaders that went to war who didn't believe in gods,
Right.
or said that they believed in gods and really didn't.
Right.
I don't think you can derive a motivation from
an ought from an is.
Motivation from the negation of one, concept.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, but conversely, how many people have gone to war precisely for the reason of the religion that they belong to?
Yeah.
And how many atrocities?
See, that's what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Have you watched before?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have? Okay. Cool. Do you know about our societies, the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee? We meet every Tuesday down at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria. Anyway, you're welcome to come down and join us if you'd like to.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. We appreciate you.
Thank you for your call.
All right.
Getting back to Dr. McDougall.
Dr. McDougall.
We were talking about how it's hard to ethically do a type of a survey like that because you're trying to take somebody who's dying
and then test
and put them on a scale and say, okay, go ahead.
You can't retry it. I mean, that's a one-shot kind of a thing.
Okay, we've been talking about the depth of 24 grams or 23 grams, but there are several other interesting concepts about souls. What happens in many birth case scenarios? When a woman is pregnant, a lot of times doctors will tell you that in the case of twins, they'll have 2 fertilized eggs. But according to the right-leaning political pundits these days, they'll tell us that those 2 cells have rights and souls. But in the course of gestation, these 2 eggs can literally merge into one human being and be born as one human being. What happens to that soul? Assuming he has one. And vice versa, you can have a fertilized egg that actually splits and becomes two human babies. Did it get one soul at the beginning? Are they sharing one soul from the rest of their lives? It's kind of an interesting conundrum. But if there's no such thing as a soul, it's not a conundrum at all.
Well, I think there's a lot of ignorance on the biology of reproduction, and I think these cases aren't taken into account when someone ponders, well, of course you get a soul at conception. It's not general knowledge that, just the instances that you're speaking of. Does a soul split? Or in the case of McDougall, does the soul gradually leave a body and then come back for a minute and then leave?
And the weight goes up and down.
I think when we take the supernatural into account, your propositions become untestable.
They do.
And that's why we don't accept supernatural claims. Because they're unfalsifiable, and once you incorporate the supernatural, anything's a go.
Right.
You can change the facts or anything. Receiving the Holy Spirit is a warm and tingly feeling, or it's a
Did
sudden.
Your weight go up?
It can be anything. And
how much does the Holy Spirit weigh?
Yeah, how much does the Holy Spirit weigh? When you can't measure these things or predict them. And when you take into account the mechanisms of self deception, our perceptions are easily fooled. Magicians do it every day.
Right.
Optical illusions are an instance of that.
For the most part, we can trust our perceptions and our senses, but sometimes they get fooled.
Right, but I mean, the supernatural isn't an everyday occurrence. It's these exceptions.
Right.
I mean, yes, I can, tell this is a table, and I drove here, and I can, sense my environment, to a very accurate degree. But there are instances where, it hits into these blind spots, as it were.
Yeah. And we have another caller. Welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have a name or a nickname?
Yeah, it's Rhonda. My name's Rhonda.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hi, Rhonda.
Welcome to the show. Do you have a comment or question?
Well, you were talking just a second ago about somebody that was carrying twins and how the twins could become one, that the two eggs would converge together.
Yeah.
I am a product of that.
Really? That's interesting.
Yes, I am. Did not know, my mother didn't know that until, of course, I became of age and was, became a woman and went to the doctor. I had a double uterus and no eye teeth. And the doctor told my mother that evidently she was carrying twins and the other one did not develop, and I got the other uterus.
There was an instance of this mentioned in a movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember it, but this is fact.
Yeah, but that's really interesting. You don't feel like you have two souls residing in your same
I have
body?
one soul.
Okay.
No, I don't have two souls. Just like I was telling Jonas, I didn't eat the other twin. The eggs converged.
Right, they do. There's lots of funny things happen during gestation, and the most common thing that happens during the earliest days of gestation is the egg itself will detach and become self-aborting. Looking at it that way, God is like the biggest abortionist of all time, because most of the fertilized eggs that happen are aborted, the biggest proportion of them.
I think he knows who should be parents and who shouldn't at some times. Sometimes I think there's people, there's mothers, and there are moms.
Yes, but those people who shouldn't be, keep trying.
Yeah, one thing about it is, if that was true, then there wouldn't be any mothers out there who shouldn't be moms. But there are.
Abandoned
I mean, there's some women are born to nurture, and some are not.
Yeah, but I mean,
actually,
it's like every baby isn't born to a nurturing mother, is what I'm saying.
No.
If God had
That's why DHS and DCS are here.
Right.
Actually, I guess the nurturing aspect can be tracked back to oxytocin. I do believe I have a soul. And I've talked to, like I said, I've talked to Jonas. I've talked to the younger people that was on last week, and now I'm talking with you all.
But
your shirt, that really got me. Nothing sells like prayer. That shirt really, I have to say, it kind of bothered me. Yet I see you stretching out there. You're really proud of it.
Well, I mean,
I'm sorry, but I don't agree with that.
Well, can we ask you to do a prayer then?
Oh yes, I can pray. I can pray.
Okay. Now, God would be capable of doing pretty much anything that you asked him to do if he took a mind to.
If he took
and if two or more people got together and prayed for something, theoretically it would happen.
No,
he says that if there are two or more together agreeing.
Well, we would like you to get together. We would like you to get together with your congregation, whoever you want to get together with,
the more the merrier,
and ask that our returning servicemen who have lost limbs, have lost their minds, have lost their sight due to war, be restored. All of them without exception.
Oh, yes, I would love for that to happen.
So would we.
But man is the one that causes war, not God.
Yeah, but God can cause it to regenerate his limbs and bring his eyesight back and all that if he exists, and he wants to.
When we get to heaven, he will restore our bodies.
Well, that's a promise that's made to us after we die, and we can't confirm any of those claims. The claims come from the Bible and from preachers, but it's like a salesman says, I'll let you have this beautiful car, but you can't get it until you're too old to drive.
Yeah, till you pay so much down.
Right.
Well, I guess, for instance, when my mother passed away, she had been sick of cancer for 8 years. When we were at the, she looked so bad. She was not eating at the end there, everything. I've seen her body just go from, which could cause the person to be angry with God, as you would say. I've had friends say they got angry with their God. In my case, when my mother passed away, she had such a peace about her, and she had told me, I'm going to get a new body, Rhonda, when I leave here. When I saw her the last time, there was a peace about her, a smile, a happiness. So to me, that was my way, that was God's way of letting me know that she got that new body. It said to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord.
Well, I mean, you could get that same type of relief by taking particular prescription drugs. You could take.
I took a lot of. I have been a drug addict, and no, you can't.
Well, what I'm saying is,
I have been a drug addict, and you cannot buy what God's got. I don't care. It don't cost money. It don't cost money.
You can. All it takes is tithes.
Actually, it does kind of cost money.
Tithes?
Yeah, you go to church, you give your money, you get relief. You know.
That right there. Now I don't. It's not necessarily is money. Tithe is also your time.
So you don't tithe money?
No, I do not. I believe that is to go out and
think about
with you all.
Yeah, but if you think about it, you're not actually helping anybody. You are helping the church. You know, you're helping the religious institution. You're not. Are you
but if I don't give those tithes, I go out and talk to people
about Christianity, which is going to bring them into the church.
I'm a recovering addict. Okay. I don't go to one certain church.
That's fine.
I do not, like I said, I'm not against the Baptists. I'm not against the Pentecostal. I'm not against the Mormons. I'm not against anybody. Okay, I'm not against the atheists. You know, all got to live on this earth together.
That's right.
Or die.
Do you believe that God can heal things like cancer or stuff?
Yes, I do.
Through prayer?
Yes, I do. Do you believe, I have one for you, do you believe that you can heal someone?
I believe the doctors can, medically
You believe
trained.
doctors can? I watched a doctor kill my uncle with one chemo treatment last year.
Kill him?
One treatment, my uncle was dead. And my mother did not take any and lived 6 months.
I know of a case where God killed everybody but 7 people.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about Noah?
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
So well, I think he's got at least one up on the doctor.
Why read it?
You were wanting to make a point there.
Yeah. So you do believe that he can heal cancer?
I do believe he can heal cancer. I believe he can heal anything that we have here on this earth if we put the faith.
What about severed limbs?
Severed limbs? If it's his will, he can put them back if he wants to.
Do you know of any cases where he did?
Oh, no, I do not.
It's never his will to restore a limb. Ever.
I'm not going to say that.
Well,
I think he may have stock in prosthetic companies.
He always seems to cure people of things that are not visible. You could say that your grandmother who lived with her cancer might have been misdiagnosed. You don't know. Your father, the person that you said died from one chemo, he could have been in such a weakened state that any of that happened, but he didn't have much choice of either take it or die anyway.
Yeah.
And he could have had a reaction to it. Doctors will be the first to say they're not perfect.
Now, would you say that?
Not. But I've also had a doctor to also say that was a miracle.
Well,
you know,
there are religious doctors.
There are religious doctors.
If you got cancer next week, would you go to a doctor?
No, I would not.
What would
I would not. I would not. I would go to the doctor. I would not take chemo.
What would constitute a miracle?
What would constitute a miracle?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if God's going to heal me of things I have. I have liver cancer. I don't take chemo, but
you do have liver cancer yourself?
Pardon?
That's what she said. Yeah.
You have liver cancer.
Yes, I have liver cancer. Okay. And I was diagnosed with it 3 years ago. Doctor may have misdiagnosed me, or God may be keeping me.
Or it could have gone into remission. There's another option.
Could have gone into remission. Either way.
Yeah. But
through my faith, I believe that He.
Yeah. But you're targeting things like if your father was it that died after one chemo?
No, it was my uncle.
Your uncle?
Yes.
Well, it was the doctor's fault. I mean, you're saying that's bad. Doctor's fault. Your grandmother lived.
Doctor's fault. It was right. Our family's fault for even.
What I'm saying is,
taking him to the doctor.
You're taking the bad things, putting it on people, taking the good things, and giving it to God. See what I'm saying?
I have been angry with God before. myself.
You have been
not
angry with God?
understanding why things weren't healed. Why babies are born without some with two heads, two bodies, conjoined twins.
That's right.
That's a mystery.
Oh, it's not a mystery. It's nature. It happens. It's just part of life. It's how nature works. It wasn't somebody peeing off God.
So if a baby is born in pristine health, that's a miracle. If they're born some kind of, malformed, that's
all of them.
Is that a curse?
Miracles.
Yeah.
Or is that a miracle also?
It don't matter if they have three heads. They're still a miracle to me. I mean, anything. When I wake up every morning, to me, it's a miracle.
Okay. Well, Rhonda, I think we're going to move on, see if we have any other callers coming in. Thanks for your call.
Y'all have a good night. Talk to you next week.
You too.
Thank you. That is setting the bar kind of low.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but it's no matter what happens. If it's bad, it's people or the devil. If it's good, it's God or Jesus. It's a little late in the show to be doing a mid-program break, but we do have sponsor identification that we need to go into. In case you're just tuning in, this is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Freethought Forum is funded jointly by those two associations and by individual contributions.
The shows are most Thursdays from 5 to 6.
Tuesdays.
I'm sorry, most Tuesdays. Most Tuesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Community Access Television. We can also be seen streaming online. For fans outside of Knoxville area, go to CTV Knox, that's KNOX.org.
You can send us feedback at the email address on your screen, but don't wait. This is a call-in show. Call in now at the number on your screen. Remember, free thought is a philosophical viewpoint that holds that opinions should be formed on the basis of science, logic, and reason, and that the viewpoint should not be influenced by authority, tradition, or dogma. Welcome to Free Thought Forum. May we have your name or nickname?
Yes. Name is Ruth.
Ruth?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to the show. Do you have a comment or question?
Well, I think I basically have a question for you. I do think we live in a great country. We're able to voice our opinions, whatever they are, and respect each other's opinions. That's a great thing about our country.
Have a dialogue.
I have a question for you.
Huh?
Have you always felt this way?
No, ma'am. I was a Christian until I was about 23.
Okay. What happened?
What about you? Would you like to answer that?
Actually, I am a transplant from California, and I didn't really have an opinion on religion until I got out here, and people asked me to read the Bible, go to their church, so I read the Bible, I read other religious texts, and it turned me into an atheist.
Yeah.
So.
Well, for me, it was the old saying, "Don't send your kids to college, or they'll get away from religion," and that was pretty much what happened to me.
Okay.
I was a believer. My mother was a very strong believer and raised me in the church. And when I got to college, my girlfriend, she was 5 years younger than me. She skipped her senior year in high school. Very smart girl to go to college. And she was an atheist, and we had many late-night discussions about religion and secularism, humanism.
Right.
And it started me thinking. She didn't convert me, but she did start me thinking. And I had the rest of my college career to go into these questions, study different religions, and actually try to take some of these claims at face value, like making a woman out of a man's rib, talking snakes. And when I looked at other religions, I saw how fantastic those stories were and how they were obviously myths. But then when I turned around and looked at Christianity, I thought, that's not different. That's the same type of stuff. All societies have their own creation stories, and the Adam and Eve story is the Christian creation myth.
Right. Well, I understand that it's a very hard thing for someone to believe. I mean, most people that do believe, they go strictly on faith. And I think growing up in the background that I have grown up in, I've seen a little bit of everything. I've traveled the country and been to several different countries, and I've seen just about every different type of religion and have been involved in different types of religion. At one time, I, too, believed that a lot of times that religion was simply, because I dealt so much being in the social services department, I actually believed that a lot of people were religious because they feared death. And they wanted to think there was something beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got hands-on with actually dealing with people in hospice, and I got hands-on actually going into underprivileged areas, I saw the existence of God, and that's my personal opinion. I drop to my knees and I have faith. Do I go to church every Sunday? No. Do I believe in giving all my money to the church? No, I don't. I don't believe that. I believe you can have a church right where you're at.
Right.
So, and is there a soul? You go back and you follow some scientific evidence. Okay, do you not believe in the theory that energy can be not only, it can never be destroyed, it can be created?
It cannot be created or destroyed.
It can change form from matter to energy and back, but it can't be created or destroyed.
Okay, so what happens to the person when that soul leaves that body?
Okay.
When it leaves and you're declared death, people at that point, what happens?
You're framing the question wrong. You're assuming the answer.
No, I'm not.
You're saying when the soul leaves the body. We're saying there's no soul in the body. You have to actually find the soul before you can find out what it does once it leaves the body.
Right.
Okay.
Now, when you say that when the energy leaves your body, the energy doesn't leave your body. The energy that I guess activates your muscles is a chemical reaction. There's not a kind of a nimbus, kind of a cloud that inhabits your core or whatever. There's not a it's kind of a fanciful image of energy that doesn't exist in your body.
Mm-hmm. And it dissipates. What happens to the people on the TV when you turn it off? It's the TV, the image on your screen is an image that's projected on a
but that
surface.
image is still there.
What I'm saying is
that by DVR recorders. I mean, that image is still there. It's still going on. That image.
No, what I'm saying is, without constant feed of the food and the energy that it supplies in your body, then those processes will start, the energy that's stored in those processes will dissipate and your body will decay. Now, there has never been any kind of proof or even demonstrable evidence that intelligence, which is what you're talking about, the soul, a person's intelligence can live without being housed in some sort of hardware.
Has there ever been any proof that it has not been? I mean, don't you question that?
You don't have...
I mean, when you come to the end of your life, or you have a family member that's very close to you that is getting ready to die, do you think, well, this is it, I'm never going to see them again? Don't you think that you're a lot better off thinking that there's a big picture out there?
Ma'am, every other thing on this world that dies, you believe you'll never see again. You'll never be able to touch or pat or...
I believe I would see my family members. I believe when they left, I sat at the foot of my grandfather's bed. My grandfather had never seen his mother, and right before his soul, or right before he left this earthly life, he looked at rigor mortis had already set in. Rigor mortis, let me finish.
Okay, ma'am, we've got 1 minute left in the show.
Yeah.
My grandfather saw his mother that he had never seen in his life. He said,
ma'am,
I'm coming to you, mother, and that was the last thing he...
Have you watched the show before? Is she off?
She's off, but she can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well, I was going to ask her if she'd watched the show before.
Sign off.
Sorry,
we've got 30 seconds left. Time to start wrapping things up. Get out your pen and paper. This has been Freethought Forum, brought to you by the Atheist Society of Knoxville, the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Please send us feedback.
At the telephone number, you can leave a voicemail at 865-272-9060.
Lean away a little bit. And
there it is.
As much as we'd like to believe that we have a soul, it's just never been demonstrated.